talk some top storylines here. Obviously, moving to D2, jumping to the whole other side of the bracket, Humphrey St. Francis and Allison Wiedner. If they can, Husker commit there, if they can get the title this year, what else are you keeping an eye on this year?
Well, there's a lot of great storylines in all the other classes, Jake. You mentioned D2. Let's start with that. Allison, future Husker, playing for Humphrey St. Francis, one of the only two teams that are undefeated this season, along with Pius X. St. Francis has been to the final 2 of the last 3 years. They've come up short. So I know Allison is really wanting to finish out her varsity career with a state title, trying to take it home for St. Francis. They've had a great season. The only question in my mind with St. Francis is they haven't really had a lot of close games this season, Jake. So that can really change a lot when you get to state, obviously. And, if they get put in a position where they haven't been in a really tight game down the stretch, you're never sure how that's going to play out. But I think St. Francis really deserves to be the favorite. As I've mentioned before, also making Class D2 again this year is our friends from Why Not, the Blue Devils. I pick against them pretty much every year because they come in with more losses than some of those other teams. But to their credit, they play a very tough schedule, and they just seem to be there every year. They won state last year. They beat St. Francis again, defeating my pick of St. Francis. So they're the number 6 seed, a really dangerous 6 seed. So I think that's 2 of the teams to watch. And I'll throw Fall City Sacred Heart in there too in D2. So really good.
My rule. My rule with D2. Why not pick against the Blue Devils?
They've made me look bad so many years, Jake. So I do like the way they play. They just really step it up at state. And for a Class D2 program, which of course you're not talking about a whole lot of girls playing to start with. So props to them for getting back there every year. But once again, I'm gonna pick against the Blue Devils and say that St. Francis is going to take home that title in D2.
Yeah, that 3-6 game you mentioned in D2, Chambers Wheeler Central, 6:30 at Lincoln North Star on Wednesday against Why Not. That might be regardless of class, one of the top first round games.
Right, I'd agree. And Why Not's got a little more tournament experience. CWC, they've done Chambers Wheeler Central since they become that co-op. They seem to be at state every year too. But like you said, 23-1 and 19-6. That's a pretty good first rounder.
Yeah, let's move around a little bit here. What are you looking out for in Class C1?
Oh, C1, I'll tell you, Jake. I really look at a couple of classes, and this one in particular as being a real. I don't know what the heck's going to happen. Let's put it that way. There's just a lot of different storylines. We've got 2 defending champions. We've got North Bend, the defending champion in C1. We've got Hastings St. Cecilia. They won C2 last year, but they moved up a class this year. So there's that intangible. You've got Grand Island Central Catholic, which replaced its coach fairly late in the season, and coincidentally, one of its top players, its top scorer, really wasn't on the team after that. So they've regrouped, and I give them credit for getting to state after, to really kind of get it back together again after something like that. I give them a lot of credit. So they're the number 1 seed. So we don't know how Central Catholic's going to do. They're going to be playing Winnebago, who was the 16th seed in districts, and they went and beat Malcolm, who was the number 1 seed. So props to Winnebago for getting to state. That's the first time they've been there in 30 years. So we'll see what they can do. Here we go to that 4-5 game, Broken Bow and North Bend, 23-1 against 21-3. I think North Bend has the possibility to really make a deep run again. They've got a couple of Emmanuel sisters. They had 3 last year. 1 graduated. They still have 2. And they won state last year. And I think they might actually get back to the final again this year, Jake. So I probably give the edge to St. Cecilia in this class. And we'll see what happens. But it's just several storylines that I think really could be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, and another class where, if you want to circle back to wild card points, not much separates the 1 seed from the 4 seed, and the 3 and the 4 seed are tied again in points. So as you said, not sure what'll happen. The wild card points reflect it. Let's jump over to C2 before we get to D1, which has a bunch of familiar faces. What are you looking out for in those two classes?
Well, let's start with C2. The team that I like to win it is Crofton. They're tournament regular. Aaron Losing has done a really nice job with that program. What I think is also working in Crofton's favor is kind of their nemesis has been Hastings St. Cecilia in recent years, and St. Cecilia moved up to C1. So Crofton won't have to deal with that team. So that's a positive for the Warriors, I think. I saw them play around Christmas time. They played Humphrey St. Francis. They got beat, but it was a good game. It could have gone either way. So, we'll take the Warriors to be the favorite in C2. But like you said, there's some notable and very familiar names, including West Point Guardian Angels, Central Catholic. They always seem to be there. So they loom as kind of a dangerous 3 seed on the other half of that bracket. BRLD, they've had some nice efforts this season. They're Wood River. Of course, we all know Wood River from where Scott Frost comes from. Bridgeport and Nebraska City Lords and another first rounder. So I think there's some good teams there in C2, but I think Crofton really stands out in my mind as the pre-tourney favorite, Jake.
And then D1, ton of familiar faces here, kind of a who's who of D1 teams the past few years. Pleasanton, Fremont, Bergen, BDS, Humphrey, Lindsay, Holy Family. What should we expect in this one?
I'll throw Hardington Cedar Catholic in there too. They always seem to be there, but Pleasanton won the state volleyball title. They were undefeated going into the tournament, and I wasn't positive. I had them ranked number 1. I wasn't positive that they could handle some of those other D1 teams just because I didn't really know if their schedule was quite what some of those other ones were, because Fremont Bergen always plays one of the toughest schedules. But Pleasanton got the job done. They've got a lot of those girls playing basketball now. They're 25-1, top seed, top ranked. So they're going in as the favorite, Jake. And I mentioned Fremont Bergen. I think they're a team that possibly might get to the final on the other half of that bracket. They play a really tough schedule, and they were in the final of the volleyball tournament. They got beat, so there's a little extra incentive for Bergen there. But I've got to give the slight edge to Pleasanton in D1.
Well, once again, I'll encourage everyone to check out your picks column, your preview, and all of the coverage throughout the tournament. They can follow you on Twitter at @MPattersonOWH. We'll have live updates every day throughout all 5 days. First ever 5-day tournament. I am really excited to see how this plays out. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I think it is going to be interesting. And like we said, just that little tweak to the schedule this year instead of the traditional Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it'll be stretched out a little bit, but I'm sure it'll be 5 days of great competition leading up to 5 days of great competition next week with the boys tournament. There's going to be some fans there this year, so that's a nice thing. So bring it on. We're ready to go this week and ready to crown 6 champions on Saturday.
Yeah, and to me, what I'm really looking forward to most is outside of other years where those smaller classes, the only chance they get to play at Pinnacle Bank and the big arenas is state final Saturday, giving them some bigger stages will be, I think, a nice opportunity.
Right. I think so too. Everybody will be playing semifinals at Pinnacle Bank this year. So the lower classes have to get past those first rounders to get onto the big arena. So we'll be playing those games at Lincoln Southeast, Lincoln Southwest, and Lincoln North Star, kind of traditional. And I've actually talked to a number of the coaches from quote unquote smaller schools, and they don't mind playing in those high schools. A lot of them don't, because there's a little more familiarity with a little more what they're used to, as opposed to, okay, you're at state, and all of a sudden you're going from your very small gym in Class D2 to the giant arena at Pinnacle Bank Arena. So I think a lot of those coaches might like that little bit of a transition that first round, and then, okay, if we win that one, yes, then it's on to the big stage.